Welcome to Biz Dev Live. So excited to have you with me today. Going to be talking about how to network better, how to build relationship. I have launched Biz Dev Live Networking. It's every Tuesday at 12, and I'm very excited to host you. Now, I've done some hosting of networking over the past 7 months, and I think I've got it nailed. I've got a routine down, a way for you to join a meeting, network with others, and really enjoy the experience. So if you're interested on networking nationally, so meeting people from other states, parts of the country, even internationally, you have a product that is not necessarily defined by your local square feet, right? Foot traffic only, right? So if you're a deli owner, I think you can get something out of this, but maybe you're not interested in networking with people in Chicago and Miami and that sort of thing. For everyone else that has a product that travels, that can sell on the internet, we're going to be talking to business owners and small businesses across the country, networking on a national scale, so that you can meet people, learn from other people, and create relationships that maybe right next door to you, might be across the country, but are really good relationships from people who are doing things like yourself, marketers, entrepreneurs, folks that are really interested in growing their network and learning from people, mentors, mentees. Maybe you're an employer and you need some folks nationally and some connections in some other states. This is a great opportunity for you. Go down below. The Eventbrite link is there. We're going to get into our show today in terms of building better relationships, how to make sure that you're finding common ground and really building a relationship. So what I want you to sort of focus on the next time you're in a networking meeting, which hopefully, if you don't have anything going on today, is tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 Pacific. I am hosting Biz Dev Live Networking. The event link is down below in the YouTube or off to the side on Facebook. But what should you do when you're in that meeting? I want to make sure that participants get the most out of these meetings. B.O.N.D, B-O.N.D, from Master Networks has created a great framework for building rapport with connections. So B.O.N.D stands for, it's an acronym that has a lot of words to it, and I don't expect you to remember it. So this is the basic thing, what I've built out of that, and something that I think you can really take to the bank when you're in the next conversation. Your goal in a networking call is to build rapport. Tony Robbins talks on this. I recommend checking out those videos and listening to them multiple times. But building rapport. And building rapport is going to come from a mixture of you giving off confidence and letting the person tell their story so that you can find common ground. So listening for the cues that will allow you to find commonality and build rapport with the person that you're speaking with. So in terms of how you enter the room and how you are being perceived, you want to make sure that you're coming into the conference, especially into the virtual world, but in real live events, in uniform. What do I mean by uniform? I mean that you should be dressed in a way that you feel confident, you feel sharp. This is the way you want your clients to see you. That's going to make you think less about how you look on camera and more about how to listen to what's going on. All right, first and foremost, because a lot of us, especially in the virtual networking world, there's a lot of focus on what you're doing because you're looking at yourself, and normally you aren't. So don't apologize. If you feel like you need to be sorry for something, turn that around and say, thank you for your patience. Thank you for understanding. Maybe you got connection issues, anything like that. put it out of your head so that you can focus on the conversation. Do not focus on yourself. So put your uniform on, get your situation set up so that you feel comfortable, your lighting, your clothes, whatever. Make sure that you're all set. Make sure that's squared away before you get onto the call. As you jump onto the call, when you get into that face-to-face or you're in a group setting, maybe 3 or 4 people in a breakout like we will be tomorrow, make sure you're listening. Make sure you're engaging in that conversation. If you're going to spend an hour on a networking call, make sure you're all there. Make sure you're not distracted by devices. Make sure that stuff is off. Again, make sure that everything is coming together so that you can focus on the people in front of you. When you speak, you look into the camera, and when people are speaking, it's okay. Look at them. I would make sure that you're not looking off to the side where people don't feel like you're paying attention, but look at people as they're speaking, understand what's going on, the emotions, but listen to what they're saying so you can listen to those cues for things that are common between you. In building rapport, in listening to people's stories, it's really important, and hopefully encourage them, ask them for more detail. Well, what did you do before then? What did you do in your past? Where'd you grow up? What music did you listen to? How did you do that? What software? Get the specifics. Maybe there's more in common than you guys know. So ask questions, really engage, really dig in the details. Don't worry if it takes too long. The more you engage, the more the other person speaks, the more likely they're going to want to continue that conversation because they're going to feel good because they were allowed to speak and they were allowed to engage. Now, when it comes time to tell your story, and I want to just put a pin because you say, oh, well, how are they going to follow up? Well, that's an important point. So we want to talk about your contact information in the chat, but I'm going to put a pin in that because I want to talk about your story. Because before we get to putting the contact information and everything, you got to give a reason, got to give them a reason why they're going to want to contact you, right? And the way that you can set up people to want to engage with you, to want to network with you, is to get your story down. I see it time and again where they have an interesting story, but they haven't practiced the telling of it. So as they're telling their story, they're like, oh, I don't even remember. And then this and that. Stop that. It's storytelling for a reason. I definitely don't want anybody to lie, but when was the last time you lied about your past, right? Most people, are trying to get the details right. And so they may be worried about the real specific thing. Don't. Just like telling a joke, if you got to explain too much, it's probably not going to be funny. Whereas in the simple, smooth telling of your story, it comes out, you sound confident. It allows more time to focus on what you're saying and not how you're saying it, right? Because if I'm stumbling over my words, you're like, oh, warning sign, danger, danger, Will Robinson, right? I don't know if I want to work with this person. They're not smooth and it doesn't seem like they're genuine or that they know what they're talking about. So practice your story. I've told my story several times on this program, and I'm not going to tell it today, but I'll say this just really quickly about myself. Over the last 7 months, as I've been doing these videos and trying to get better at public speaking every day, with each video, as I produce it, as I get ready for my 11 a.m. broadcast to the world here, I understand that you don't want to pay attention to something that's sloppy. So I work really hard to make sure that even when I don't have it all figured out, that I'm taking a moment, breathing, not saying, even though I do say it. It happens, but I don't focus on that. I focus on the message that I'm trying to deliver and deliver it so that you have value. So in the same way, when you're speaking to somebody, just focus on your message, on your story, and delivering that value. The person that wants to hear your story wants to hear about you. Don't make the decision for them whether your story is boring or not. Your story is amazing. You tell it, and if the person is bored with it, that's on them. They're not into it. They're not listening. It's not the right person. Goes back to that story about the father and the son, gives him a car, says, hey, take it over to the dealership and then take it to the auto club, see what they'll give you for it. Son takes it to the dealer. They don't want to offer him much to it. He goes to the auto club. They offer him a ton of money. Go where you're valued. Don't worry about your story not being impactful for the person in front of you. Either they care or they don't. Fine. Tell your story. Get better at telling it as you go on. People will enjoy it. People will love you. We love stories as a people, just on the base fact, right? We love stories. So get comfortable telling your story, add details, and have different tellings of that story for the person that you're potentially talking to. If I have somebody that's more interested in music and that sort of thing, I'll talk about the parts of my story that really have focused on music in my past. If I'm talking to somebody that's more business focused, more entrepreneurial, I'll talk about those aspects of my story and how I got, into that gear, into that mindset of being an entrepreneur. So practice your story so that you can tell it to anyone very confidently and be interesting, right? So listen to somebody else's story, tell your story when it's time to really engage people first. Don't try to come with your story. It's about listening to people. The only reason I want you to practice your story is there will come a point where somebody wants to know, wow, this person's really great. They've spent a lot of time listening to me and they asked me some engaging questions. I really want to know more about them. And I want you to be interesting and exciting when that opportunity comes. And in that's your part of your sales pitch, because you're selling yourself. So having a strong story, which we all have trauma and crazy things that have happened in our life. A big part of my story is talking about the time that I was laid off and my wife was in Mexico. We're waiting on immigration paperwork. And that piece of my story is a big moment in my life that made me shift how I was doing things and eventually enabled me to start up Toth Event Staffing. So those pieces of your story, the challenging piece are the juicy bits. People want to have those. Just make sure that there's a point to it, right? Make sure you're going someplace with your story. Nobody wants Debbie Downer, right? So if you're telling something, talk about, well, this is a challenging thing that's happening to me right now, and this is what I'm doing in order to, can you help me? Is there somebody that you can refer me to? Is there a service that you offer, right? Be that way. So we're going to listen. We're going to know how to tell our story. Now, here's the logistical pieces of this. Having your contact information listed in a Google Doc or a Microsoft Doc that you can copy and paste with the returns in it. What I mean is you have the information down the next line. It's not like a big blob paragraph. Have everything nicely formatted. You can copy that, paste that into Zoom. It'll come out nicely, hit enter, it'll pop into the box. Make sure your LinkedIn address is in there. https://www.linkedin.com/in/ whatever your name is on LinkedIn. Make sure that whole thing is in the comment so that somebody can click on that right in the meeting and go right to your profile and connect with you immediately. Networking happening in the moment. You may not get their contact information into your address book, which you do. You want to make sure you're capturing that contact information. If they posted their information, you want to make sure you get in there. But when somebody allows you the opportunity to connect with you on LinkedIn, automatically the connection is there for you almost mission complete, right? Now, once you connect with them, a lot of their contact information is actually available on LinkedIn. It is a lot easier to read format than saved chats off of Zoom. So it's a great way to find people, whether you're doing a Zoom meeting or on any other platform. So I hope that is really helpful. I want you to make sure to come to Biz Dev Live Networking on Tuesdays at 12. It'll be every Tuesday at 12 going forward. I throw a meme meeting. We throw some music in there. We have a 5-minute presentation every week. This week will be me, just to get things started off because it's the first one. But everyone after that will have somebody coming in to present 5 minutes of learning. And then we will get into breakouts where you're actually meeting people, having those opportunities to listen, tell your story, share your information, and make connections. Now, final piece of this, right? We're listening, we're telling our story, we're sharing our information to make sure that we connect to this. Create concrete next steps. So I talked about the contact information first because some of the meetings that you'll be having online will be very brief. So get the contact information, make sure you get that, because if you get cut off, you come back from a breakout too quick, now you can follow up on LinkedIn. And that's where you can create your next steps. But if it's possible, you want to create your next steps within the meeting. If you create your next steps within the meeting, now you are extending out that relationship from the moment. We are making progress in terms of turning this person into a person I just met or reconnected with into a long-term relationship that will bear fruit time and time again, whether they are a customer, a referral source, an information source, a mentor. I want to make sure that I am taking this contact, this rich contact, and I want you to be aware that, even somebody that's younger, less experienced, maybe in a different place in their career, how much value that person can be to you and your business. You never know. So create next steps, figure out a way to make use of everybody that you come in contact with, figure a way to group them in. If this is a person that I don't know, put them in the I don't know column and just list out everything you know about them. If you do that, chances are you can probably put them into a column: client, potential client, mentor, mentee, all this kind of stuff that you can actually group them in. I hope that was helpful. I want you to have great networking opportunities as we continue on in the virtual world for the next few months. Lots of news about a vaccine coming so that we will gradually move from pandemic world to back to a world where it's comfortable to meet in person again. And I'm looking forward to those meetings, but virtual isn't going anyplace. So getting it solid now while people are willing to forgive you for not having everything figured out is really good, because you can move ahead really quickly in this time, in this place. So take advantage of it. I will see you tomorrow.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.